In an old episode of Full House, Aunt Becky and Uncle Jesse get busted lying on an application to get their twin sons into a fancy preschool. And it would seem that Lori Loughlin, the actress who played Aunt Becky, learnt nothing from that episode because decades later she would be serving 2 months in prison for taking part in a scam to cheat both her daughters into a very fancy college that they didn't earn a place in. And it wasn't just Lori Loughlin. A whole bunch of rich, entitled parents, including other famous ones like Felicity Huffman, were also sent to prison for cheating on their kids' college admissions to get them into colleges they were not good enough to earn a place in. Today, Hayley Stavely, Gisners, I am giving you just the gist of the 2019 college admissions scandal.
Yes.
What?
Nepo week.
It is.
Already,
Welcome.
I did not remember that they went to prison.
Prison. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God.
literally, this is 2026. Just the Gist is back, and our first week is a Nepo baby themed. I hadn't even planned it this way, but then Brooklyn Beckham woke up and chose violence. We did an emergency mini on that you can go and listen to. That's there in the feed. And then obviously I think we're going to do, because even since Brooklyn Beckham chose violence and we did that episode, David Beckham has now done an interview that it's just like this story is going to be breaking. I think we'll do a bonus episode for that for Gisner Club members on the Patreon or Apple subscription. So sign up to that if you're not. But it's all happening. Just 2026 on the treadmill. Off we go. I'm your host, Rosie Waterland. This is Hayley Stavely, Just the Network producer, and we're diving right in.
Yes. I was going to say we just need to do like 24-hour live streams at the moment. Just I know. Nepo baby news.
This is like
Nepo news.
This is like almost like when the Mushroom Lady trial. Do you know what I mean? Like when the Brooklyn Beckham thing, I was like, oh my God, I've got to get on a live. I've got to do something. Oh, where are the Gisners? Let's go. Yeah. Like, and I don't even care about the Beckhams that much.
No, but I just care about the drama.
Yeah, me too. And so I wasn't going to do this college admission scandal episode for a while, but I was like, let's make it a Nepo baby themed week. Let's go.
Yes.
So that's what we're doing. And
love a Nepo baby story.
Let's jump right in.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, to talk about the Nepo baby college admissions scandal of 2019, you sort of need to first talk about the US college system, because it's a very weird, different system compared to university in Australia. University in Australia is, and I'm saying all of this in general terms. US listeners, I may get some things wrong, but this is just the gist. Australian listeners, your experience may have been a bit different. This is just generally okay, so just deal with it. Just shut up. So university in Australia is essentially, it's just university. You go, you learn the thing you're there to learn, to do the degree you're there to do. We don't really have colleges like live on campus kinds of vibes at our universities. Like some universities in Australia, probably the most prominent one is Sydney University, have some colleges because there are like rich kids who want to have a traditionally US college experience, or like, we do, I think, have some colleges as well for international students who want to come to an Australian university and have that experience. Like, for example, Queen Mary, Princess Mary's daughter, has come to Sydney University and is staying in a college there. Yeah. So, but it's not really a majorly done thing. Like, I know a couple people who did it because I went to boarding school and they went there because of that. Their parents didn't love them and they had to live somewhere. But like, it's just not a done thing here. And like, what's also different about Australian university is like, you don't really care about your university in the way that a lot of people in the US do. Like, you're not walking around wearing a university jumper, like with your university's name. There's not that kind of like, whatever pride, like go T-Bone, whatever
T-Bone.
team. I don't know. Like,
okay, but if I went to a university called T-Bone, I absolutely would be going
like,
go
because they all have these major college football teams and they all get, know, they all love their universities. They like stay alumni for years and they're like very proud of like the university they've gone to. Like, we just don't really have
we just
that
like go
here.
to the closest one that you get into.
Yeah, and then also like we don't do the whole 4-year undergrad degree before you study the actual thing you want to study. So in the US, right, if you want to study like law, for example, you have to do a 4-year undergrad degree in like arts or something else, and then you apply to go to law school. But in Australia, you just apply, like you finish high school and you apply for like law or medicine or whatever, and you just start that straight away. So like it's just, college is like this rite of passage, sort of more life experience thing for a lot of people than it is like just a straight up institution of learning where you go to learn the thing so you can move into the vocation of your choosing. It's like different, I think. And, you know, people want to get into the best colleges over there because it is a prestigious thing and like a life experience thing. So the best ones I think people have heard of are the Ivy League colleges. There's 7 of those. There's Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, Brown, UPenn, and Cornell. And then there's other colleges that aren't Ivy League ones but are still incredibly prestigious, like NYU or USC, the University of Southern California, or there's UC Berkeley. Like, so there are other colleges as well that are like very fancy, and these are all very expensive institutions if you don't get a scholarship. So there are colleges over there that everyone wants to go to, and they kind of dream of getting into their dream college from when they're young. I always sort of think about Rory from Gilmore Girls just being obsessed with getting into Harvard. Like that's like her dream of dreams. And, you know, it's – I wouldn't say that like it opens all doors to you, but it certainly opens a lot of doors in that, like, even today there are still certain law firms or companies who will only recruit new graduates from one particular school. Like they'll only take Harvard graduates or they'll only take, you know, Princeton graduates. At one point, every single judge on the US Supreme Court went to either Harvard or Yale. So a big part of getting into these schools is like the prestige of getting into them, but it's also the doors that it opens in terms of the people you meet there who you will then know for the rest of your life. Like it's future important people. So it's expensive and it's extremely competitive. So for example, this year, I looked it up, the people who are going to be the Harvard class of 2029, so people who start this year, Harvard accepted 2,000 students from 49,000 applications.
Whoa.
So it is very hard to get into these schools.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And, you know, applications to get one of those few places are intense, and it's different to Australia again because here it is pretty much just based on your year 12 exam scores. Like in year 12, your final year of school, you do a few assessments, you do a few exams, you get given a score out of 100, and then each university course has a score. So like if you wanted to, for example, do law at Sydney Uni and the entry score is 99.5, if you got 99.5 or above, you will get into that course at Sydney Uni. Like it's just purely a numbers thing. I mean, there are ways to fudge it, obviously. I remember at Barker, where we both went to school, because they took this stuff pretty seriously, getting kids good grades because it looks good for them. So there was a person whose entire job was doing the applications for everyone in year 12 to figure out how to get the extra 5 points you can get. So like things like
5 points?
Yeah, so you could get extra 5 points on your what was back then a UAI, like your score. It's now called an ATAR. So for example, if you had like ADHD, you get an extra 5 points. Or if a lot of the boarders got it because if you came from the country, like a rural area, you got an extra 5 points. I got an extra 5 points. Mine was like easy because it was like your history's fucked. Like you get an extra 5 points. And so then like you'd get your score, but then you'd like whatever your score is, like you got 5 points below that.
Yeah, I remember my friend got an extra 5 points because she had an eating disorder in year 12.
Yeah, see?
I didn't realise it was so, I thought that was like rare.
No, there was a person in the office at Barker. I remember they were down where the counsellor's office were, and literally their full-time job was just figuring out how to get it for you if you wanted it. Like, have trouble reading sometimes, might be dyslexia, 5 points for you. Like everyone got this 5 points.
But I mean, I didn't have, like, if I got an extra 5 points, I would have got over 100, so maybe I didn't need it.
See, I got 97.5, but that was with my extra 5 points, so I actually got 92.5.
I mean, I didn't even use it.
Yeah, anyway. No, I didn't. Well, the thing is, it kind of messed me up a bit because when I got my score, it was like way better than what I thought it was going to be. And so I changed my course preferences to like better, smarter things because I was like, well, I might as well get into the smartest, best thing I can get into. And it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I went to uni and hated it because I was like, I just picked this because my score was high enough.
What did you pick?
Psychology at Sydney Uni. And like 3 weeks in, I was like, I hate this. Dropped out, went to drama school. There. My uncle was thrilled. So, yeah, for us, it is all very much just based on just a score, like your academic score, which some people say is a better system than the US's system, which I'm about to describe to you. But then there are other people who say that, you know, for those who aren't good at exams and aren't good at like that kind of traditional assessments, like the reason I did so well in my HSC is just I didn't learn anything. I'm just very good at writing. I was very good at remembering essays. I was very good at writing essays off the cuff. Like I was just good in exams. And that is like a skill that gets you a good score, but it's not like enriching my mind. Like I wasn't learning anything. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
yeah, it was because like that's your job now, basically.
I guess, but it was also, it's an unfair advantage. I think there were kids who probably were a lot smarter than me and taking in a lot more in year 12 and learning a lot more than I was, but I was just a better exam taker than they were, and so I got a better score.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
That's what they're testing. They're not testing how smart you are. They're testing how good you are at taking exams.
I know, which a lot of
studying,
people,
which is what you got to go forward and do anyway.
Which a lot of people would argue is a stupid system, and so that's why a lot of people think the US system that I'm about to describe opens things up to be fairer. So in the US system, getting into university or college is a very different, more intense process. So first of all, there is the academic side of it. There's 2 major tests you can do at the end of your schooling. There's something called an SAT or an ACT. They're both standardized tests, so they're both just like multiple choice questions. I'm not going to go too much into this because it's just the gist, but apparently the SAT focuses more on critical thinking and literary stuff, and the ACT focuses a lot more on maths and science.
I'm such a loser that I used to do practice SAT papers when I was in high school, like for fun.
Of course you did.
Because
why not? Yeah. So you only need to do one of those tests to get a score to apply for college. But if you want to get into a good college, it's better if you've done both to prove that you can do both. And unlike in Australia, where our final exams take place over like 2 weeks and everybody sits for them in a big hall at the same time, in the US, you can take the SAT or the ACT at any time. Like there are sessions pretty much like every weekend, and you can just go to a registered place, or maybe your school is registered and there's a like exam official there who sits with you while you do it. And you can also try as many times as you like. So like you can do the SAT one weekend, not get a great score, go back a couple weeks later, do it again. Like it's just kind of this thing that's always happening that you can go and sit the exam and try and get the best score you can. So like that's the academic part of the college admissions, to kind of prove what you've learned throughout your schooling. There's a lot more to the applications process, though, to universities. So
I know this from Legally Blonde.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it is a lot like Legally Blonde. So first of all, college admissions officers, so they like these massive colleges have a whole admissions office whose whole job is just to like sift through those 49,000 applications Harvard got and pick the best 2,000. And so they'll take into consideration your test scores, but they also look at your high school grade point average. So that means you can't just like coast through school the whole time and then ace the test at the end. You had to have been getting a consistent high grades the whole time. They also look at the classes you took in high school. So, you know, like me, I did like drama and art and English and no maths and no science. They'd be like, no. You also need letters of recommendation from like teachers, mentors. A lot of people like who are well connected will get like, you know, a letter of recommendation from their like family friend Barack Obama. Like people get like crazy letters of recommendation. And the other huge part of the process is there's usually an in-person interview, but there is always a like personal essay. So you have to write an essay, and that is apparently a huge part of what helps you get in. Most people like dig into whatever little bit of trauma they may have had at that time, like you know, like
you just smashed that.
The essay is really important. And so it's like this whole package that you have to send to these colleges to apply, which is why a lot of people say they think it's in fact a better system than in Australia, because that means if you're not a great exam taker, there are other ways in which you can impress these colleges. Like you can knock the essay out of the park, or you can, but it does sound like you kind of have to knock it all out of the park.
It sounds exhausting.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, if you're incredible like at a sport or at music or something, you can get in that way, because these colleges like sport, music, these specialized skills are often a big deal, particularly sport. So if you're good at a particular sport, you'll often get recruited on that basis. And so your application will include, you know, like photos and videos of you playing. A coach may come to your school and watch you play. You may have to go to the university and, you know, do an audition play. Same as with like music or whatever. They want to like hear stuff you've done. And so it's like getting into college in America, if you want to get into an elite good one, it's hard. Exhausting. But yeah, a lot of people think it's a much more holistic system than Australia. I don't know. I think there's good and bad to all. The thing that always worried me about the US system is you have to do maths up until like the end of year 12, and I'd be like, well, I'd fail. Like I
don't want to.
I would have failed. Yeah.
I don't like it.
But whatever your opinion on which system is better, the US system is, you know, it's crazy hard and spots are limited, and there are some rich entitled parents who don't want to risk their kids not getting a spot. And since rich entitled parents are very used to just buying whatever they want, they wanted to find a way to buy their often undeserving kids a way in to these schools. And this is where Rick Singer entered the picture, the man at the center of the whole college admission scandal. So Rick Singer is a man who called himself a college admissions consultant, which is actually a big thing in the US because, as you can imagine, there is a massive industry of people who you pay and they help you put these applications together in the best possible way.
It's like the green card people.
Yeah, exactly. A podcast series I listened to research for this called Gangster Capitalism. They did like a 6-part series on this. Highly recommended. They interview a woman who does consulting for private preschools in New York City. So like it starts at the very beginning over there. It's crazy. So Rick Singer had gone to a pretty average university himself to study physical education, and he had, it was revealed later, got into that university by fudging his application. And after finishing that degree, he got a job as a high school basketball coach, again by fudging his resume. And probably because he fudged his resume, he ended up losing that job after only one season. But because he had gone through the athletic system at college himself, and since he spent time with high school kids trying to get into college, he sort of realized, well, I fudged my way into both, and there's a gap in the market here for me to make some money. So he started, he says, legitimately doing just like tutoring for the SAT, like helping kids prepare for the test, helping kids, like he said, as a consultant with their applications or whatever. But then he was like, well, surely I can help. Surely I can offer more of a guarantee here. He says, he tries to explain it later, saying he accidentally fell into being dodgy because he was doing it legitimately. And there was one kid who was so amazing. He like deserved to go to college so much. He was like underprivileged. No one in his family had gone to college. His application was incredible. He'd worked so hard, but he was terrible at taking the SATs. And Rick was like, I can figure out how to like get him a better score. And so he did it for this one kid, and then he said it just snowballed from there.
So where did that one kid come from? Is that like someone
Rick's mind. Well, because he's running his consulting business.
Yeah.
And he
but if he's so underprivileged, he's not hiring a bloody consultant for
who knows.
College
this is the story Rick tells later about how he just innocently fell into helping rich people cheat because of this one underprivileged boy he helped one time.
Started from a good place.
So he's doing this consulting thing where he's helping kids get their applications together, but he does realize very quickly how desperate these rich parents are to get their kids into the best school, like not just for the kids but as a status symbol for themselves. Like there was an interview on the Gangster Capitalist podcast with this woman talking about like the application process with her son, and she kept talking about it in the collective. Like she would say, she didn't say like he was applying, she'd be like, we applied to college and we got into Harvard and we blah blah blah. It's like, so the pressure from parents must just be so intense.
I hate it, like, because even like people talk about it with kids my kids' age, like wear toilet training, or we finally slept through the night. So I'm like, it just gives me the ick. I don't know why.
Weird.
It's like we're pregnant.
No, gross.
Understand pronouns.
So, like I said, he insists that he just started doing things dodgy with this one kid and it snowballed from there. But we don't really know when he really initially started his like legitimate consulting business turned into a total scam. But we just know that at one point it did, and he was charging a lot of money for it, and it wasn't until after he got arrested that we all found out how the whole system worked. So I will explain that to you now.
Thank you.
So Rick Singer developed what he called the side door to get these kids into college, and here's how he would explain it. He's like, there's two ways to get into college. There's the front door and the back door. The front door is working hard and getting in on your own merit. And rich kids are like, no. The back door is being extremely rich, like crazy wealthy, and making a huge donation to a university so that they give you a place. A famous example of this is Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump's husband. His father made a $2.5 million donation to Harvard University not long before he was accepted. And teachers have come out later saying, like, there was no way he was going to get in based on, his academic history in school.
As usual, it's The Simpsons.
Yeah,
Yale could use an international airport.
Yeah, exactly. But even $2.5 million is actually considered quite quaint now. Like, that was back in, like, I think 1999 or something. Now, people who are in the know say you need to donate at least $5 to $10 million to even get a look in at the back door, like at somewhere like Harvard or Yale.
Sorry, but every time you've said back door,
when I was writing this, I was like, Haley's going to flip out over back door. But that's what it's called.
I was so proud of myself for not reacting like the first 3 times, but I was like, I can't hold it in anymore. I've just got to get it out.
I knew it. Every time I wrote it, I was like, but that's what it's called.
You did this to me on purpose.
So, like, for somewhere like Harvard or Yale, apparently, to get in through the back door, it's a $5 to $10 million donation. But even then, it's not guaranteed. So they can take the donation and just be like, thanks, good luck to your kid, and like, you don't get a place.
That's so fucked.
Rick saw a gap there for what he called a side door, because he was like, if the front door, which is working hard and getting in legitimately, exists, and the back door exists, which is like being uber wealthy and paying millions and millions, the side door can be something in between, because there are a lot of very rich people who aren't like donate $10 million rich, but they are still very rich. And so he was like, I reckon I can cater to those people, but also what he wants to do is something guaranteed. He doesn't want it to be like you donate this money and then hope they let you in. He's like, I'm going to come up with a system where you pay an amount and you get in. And so Rick Singer said this is how he developed his side door into college guarantee. If you pay him, your kid is guaranteed a spot at the university of their or your, as a parent, choosing. And so here's how his side door worked. It's just
Oh, so he was doing this at multiple. I thought it was just one uni that he had connections with.
When he was eventually arrested, they found that he had done this at almost every major elite university in the country.
Whoa.
Like, there was not just one. It was like a pages long list.
I'm impressed. I want to remember how this all worked.
So, I'll tell you now.
Great.
So, Rick knew how the athletic departments at these colleges worked because he had, like, come up in them. So sports like football, basketball are huge and they get all this money at these colleges. But other more niche sports at these colleges, which do make up a huge part of the college, like of the student population, they don't really get a lot of funding. Like, they're not getting the football and the basketball money. They get most of their funding through, like, the tuition of the kids joining to play that particular sport, or like then donations and fundraising. So I'm talking things like sailing, rowing, like water polo, lacrosse, soccer, like more, they're all rich kid sports.
Fencing.
But like fencing, like niche sports where like the college does recruit students to come and play in those sports. It's how you get a place. Like, if you're really good at one of those sports, you can generally get a spot. And so the coaches in charge of those sports at those colleges, they're under a lot of pressure to bring in money because the colleges themselves don't invest in those sports. And so that's where Rick saw an opportunity. So he went to those coaches and he promised them bribes if they would help him get the kids he wanted into their college. So, for example, the head of like Harvard rowing every year would have to meet with the admissions office and say, I've looked through all the applications. Here are 10 incredible rowing kids who are applying this year and I want to give them places, because the admissions office doesn't know anything about rowing.
Yeah.
If the
Is rowing actually one of them? Because I would have thought rowing would be actually competitive.
No, rowing's a huge one. Rowing plays a huge part in this story.
Does it?
So yeah, the admissions office, they don't know anything about rowing. If the rowing coach tells them these are the 10 I want, they just go, great, yeah, they approve it. But then what happens is 9 of those kids are legitimate rowing talent, and one of the kids is someone the coach is just slipping through because he's getting a bribe from Rick. And when it comes to these more niche sports, like, it's easy for them to do that because the admissions office just let them do it. So that kid's parents pay Rick a fee. Rick keeps half of it, and the other half of the bribe goes to the coach. And that kid then comes into Harvard, but just never rows because the coach knows they can't row. The coach knows they're there for dodgy reasons. And so the coach either keeps the money for themselves or they give it to their sport program. They found after the arrests that pretty much all the coaches just kept it for themselves and didn't actually go to the school. And Rick gets this fee and the kid gets to go to the college that they want. That's
so
how
did they not have like a full squad or team or whatever?
They do, but the coach is in charge of it. So as long as he knows, yep, I just slipped that person in and they're just not doing the rowing, no one's going to ask him. Like, he's the coach. So there are examples of some of the kids, their parents told them that, you know, you're getting in this dodgy rowing way. So they know to just be like, oh, yeah, I'm here because I'm good at rowing. But then they never go. There are other kids who their parents don't tell them. There was an example of one boy who had a teacher come up to him and say, oh, you know, like, I heard you you must be so great at lacrosse to get in on the lacrosse blah, blah, blah. And he was like, what? Like, I don't. And the teacher was like, you know, we're going to have to figure out your classes around your training. And the kid was like, what are you talking about?
Oh my gosh.
Some parents tell their kids and some parents don't. I know, but I mean,
thinking that you got in. Well, whatever. They're nepo babies.
I know, but their parents are I consider this quite an abusive disservice, but we'll get into that. So that's how it happened on the college side of things. It was all pretty much done through these dodgy coaches just slipping a kid in every now and again and not telling anyone. Now, I'll explain how it happens on the parent side of things, and I'll do that using the 2 most famous parents involved in this whole scandal. One was Felicity Huffman of Desperate Housewives fame, Oscar winner, married to William H. Macy, and the other, of course, is Lori Loughlin, Aunt Becky, Hallmark movies. That's it. That's it.
Famous pretty lady.
So Rick tends to be recommended by word of mouth. He's a person rich people know about. And he Like, he does do legitimate college coaching. Like, that's what his business is. Like, legitimate coaching to help your kid, like, help them with their SAT, help them with their application. And people talk about that. But mostly the word of mouth is people going, this guy, he'll pull some stuff, your kid will get in. So Laurie Loughlin and her husband, Mossimo Giannulli, he's the man who invented Mossimo, which was very cool when we were kids.
Really?
Yeah, I remember Mossimo being in general pants, and it was like super cool.
Super cool. It's great confident pronunciation there.
Giannulli?
I don't know I don't even know who this person is. I just was impressed that you were like, Mossimo Giannulli.
Well, I'm
you just said it.
Mossimo. I just know that from the brand. And then Giannulli, I hope is correct. Now I'm second guessing it.
No. I was impressed.
Well, the brand, it was cool until he sold it to Target for like $200 million. So he got rich, but then the brand became lame because it was in Target then.
It became hot tuna.
But he and Laurie, neither of them had gone to college, and they both really wanted their daughters to have that experience, and they really wanted their daughters to go to USC, which is a very popular college if you live in California. And, you know, they were new money, and they wanted to be part of that elite kind of rich community where people send their kids to these elite college institutions. The interesting thing is, though, neither of their daughters really wanted to go. Both their daughters are really beautiful. Bella and Olivia Jade were both influencers in their late high school years. Olivia Jade had a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers where she did, like, get ready with me videos and stuff. She had a little, like, collab line, I think, with Sephora. She constantly talked on her socials and videos about how much she hated school and she didn't want to go, and talked about how, like, when she did get into USC, she posted this video like, I don't know how many classes I'm actually going to go to. Like, I'm looking forward to, like, the partying and, like, game day and stuff, but I don't know. You guys know I hate school. Like, they didn't even want to go, these girls.
And there's these kids that are, like, working their asses off and gutted to be missing out on a place.
Yeah.
Ugh, that makes me mad.
Their parents really wanted them to go. So they set up this, like, meeting with Rick Singer, and they hire him to get their daughters into USC. So he does it first with the older daughter, Bella, and then he does such a good job with her that they hire him for Olivia Jade the next year. And he puts together applications making out like Bella and Olivia Jade are rowing stars because his connection at USC is the rowing coach. And the rowing coach...
look at their shoulders and you're going, they've never rowed
You're going to die.
Lives.
This is so...
They're twigs.
You're going to die at this. It's so funny. So the rowing coach is like, yeah, totally, I can get them in, but to cover our bases, their application obviously needs to look legit. So can you just do an application showing that they're both champion rowers? And so they decide that they're going to say that they're coxswains because, yes, they don't have the shoulders to be rowers, and the coxswain is the one that sits, at the end and is like, row, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like
is that actually all they do? Do they steer or something?
Like, it's apparently, like, quite a skill. They also, like, shout their apparently a big part of those applications is audio of them because they're like, come on, guys, keep going. Number 3, you're a second behind. Like, they sort of have to keep track of who's even a second behind, like keeping them all in line. Like, it's apparently quite a precise, tricky thing to do. But it's also the most believable for both of them because, yes, they don't look like rowers. And so Rick sets about putting together an application, making it look like they're both champion coxswains. And Rick tells Laurie and Mossimo to get the girls to pose on rowing machines and take lots of pictures like they're training. So there are pictures of them on rowing machines like they're training.
But why would they need to go on rowing machines if they're just the yelling person?
I mean, you're still you're still a rower. Like, you're just, it's all part of the application.
Sometimes.
And he then photoshops their faces onto coxswains rowing, like in photos to include in the application. I mean, he doesn't have to make it amazing because the coach is in on it, and the coach just has to, like, the admissions team will say to the coach, who are the 10 rowers you're accepting this year? And he'll be like, these 10, and they'll go, great. So it just, it's like base level covering. So they put together this application. They also fudge some stuff to do with their SATs, which I'll explain in a minute. Like they basically just totally like fudge
Fraud
up
that shit
and
up.
like exaggerate this whole application, excuse me. And then Bella and Olivia, they both get to USC as rowing recruits, and then they just never row because the coach knows they can't row, like he's in on it. And also they're in on it because they posed for the photos. So they know, oh yeah, this is how I got in, but I'm never actually going to rowing training or whatever.
So then if you get in on a sports scholarship, can you just study whatever you want?
Yeah, like so people who get in on these sports scholarships, you're not there to study sport. You're there to study whatever degree you want, but you're also going to play sport for the college.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like an extracurricular thing.
Yeah.
And so you just go there and do your degree, and if you have this arrangement with the coach, you just never do the extracurricular thing, and he just marks you off as doing it every week.
Yeah, but that's crazy that you could, just for being good at a sport, you could do whichever course you want.
Oh, that's how it works in America. It is crazy.
I thought they would at least need to also have some sort of qualifier for which, course they could do.
I don't know. I just think back to that movie, The Blind Side, which is problematic for a bunch of different reasons. But the general story in that is he's brilliant at football and all these colleges want him to play football for them. But Kathy Bates does need to tutor him to get his scores up to at least like a certain level. I know that at a lot of these colleges, if you are on the star football team, or I also know this from the documentary show Cheer, if you're like on the star cheerleading team or whatever, your grade point average can't drop below a certain point or they stop letting you play.
Yeah, right. So it's more of you can study what you want, but like
this
you
is
have to,
your extra
you can't
thing
just waste it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this kind of deception, like to a highly coveted school like USC, where you get the full package of like he's fudging your SAT scores, he's getting you into the exact school you want, it's guaranteed. That's the premium package that Rick offers. Lori Loughlin and Massimo Giannulli paid $250,000 each for each of their daughters, $500,000 to get their daughters with this premium package into USC.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a bargain if people are paying like $10 million.
I know. That's why
door.
Rick says it's a side door. It's for people who are rich but not crazy rich.
That.
Yeah. So Rick Singer gets a big chunk of that, and then the rest goes to the dodgy coach. So a lot of people say that like you can't get mad at the kids because they probably didn't know. But I think in the case of Olivia Jade and Bella Giannulli, they did know because they posed in the photos. Like they did a lot of fake photos. And Olivia Jade ended up getting like, such backlash about this later. Yeah. And because she was like a prominent influencer who had such a spoilt brat attitude about hating school and not even wanting to go anyway. And then everyone was like, you totally knew you posed for like, you were in on it, right?
Yeah.
Like you were in on it, surely.
But I mean, I guess if you're raised by people who think that that's fine, you probably think that that's fine.
Yeah,
like
it's
unlikely that you're going to be able to break out of that, way of thinking and go, actually, this isn't fair.
Yeah. So what Lori Loughlin did with her kids was like the straight up full package, the premium package, get admission into the university of your choosing, whole application done no matter what. But Rick also offered like other services, like lesser services for kids who have a pretty good application to get in somewhere, but who are worried or whose parents are worried that they won't do well enough on the SAT or the ACT test. Like they're not good test takers or maybe they're just not very smart. I don't know. So even if your application is amazing, you do need to get above a certain score in these tests to get into certain universities. So Felicity Huffman also has two daughters with William H. Macy, and she was really worried that they wouldn't get the test score they needed. So she hears about Rick Singer, and William H. Macy doesn't end up getting in trouble for any of this because she was the main one dealing with Rick Singer. But like in correspondence, she does mention things like we and us. Like I think he knew about it. Like she took one. She took one for the team in the end.
The mum does all the bloody grunt
the
work
admin stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she hears about Rick and his guaranteed test score thing. And this is how this works. This is like the, not the full package, just the test package.
It's like he goes in with a wig and takes the test.
It's not far off that. It's not far off that. So basically Rick has a guy on staff who is like a genius test taker. He has taught the test. He knew the test. He'd done it 1,000 times, even though it changes like all the time. He just knows how to do it so well that he can get an exact score. Like if they're like, oh, if my kid gets like 98, that'll be too obvious because they've never got above a 90. And so he can like get your kid like 92. Like, you know what I mean?
Crazy.
Like, even though the way they do their scores are like 1,400, these other numbers, just for like example's sake, like he can get the exact number as high or low or whatever to make it seem not suspicious. And so here's how they do it. Rick Singer would say to the parents, you need to get your kid a medical exemption to say that they need extra time to do the test in a private room with an exam proctor. So like for ADHD or a learning difficulty or something, like I remember when I was in high school, I was part of this program where there were kids who had trouble with like information processing and handwriting. And so I would sit in a room with them, just the two of us, and I would read them the question. They would verbally tell me their answer and I would write it for them. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
like I did that at Parker.
Did you?
And like, not for nothing, but like, I like totally helped them. Like,
yeah, you would.
Because you know they'd tell me that it was like you can't ever change. You have to write exactly what they'd say, and they'd say it to me, and I'd be like, yeah, totally. Or you could just say blah blah blah, and they'd go, that sounds good, and I'd be like, okay, like I just
Well, I feel like it'd be really intimidating having to do it that way.
I know,
like having to say your answer out loud to someone.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. Like,
I wish I had known that I had ADHD in high school and had accommodations because I did some dumb stuff.
what did you do?
One of my exams, I just misread. It was like you had to answer 3 questions, and it just like didn't read that part, and I thought it was just one, and I was like, fuck, I've done this so fast. So I was like, my handwriting's not that neat. So I rewrote my whole essay in neater handwriting.
Oh my God.
And then like 10 minutes before the end, I realised that we were supposed to answer 3 questions, and I was like, I have to write 2 more essays. And then another multiple choice, I did the thing where like I skipped one to come back to it, but then forgot to actually skip the row. So then all of my answers were like off by 1, and again realised really close to the end, but then didn't know where it happened and was like frantically rubbing stuff out, and so many.
Stuff like
I was really late. I got the time wrong, and I was like an hour late. I think it was for history.
Oh no.
And like I
that
did
is
so
it's
many
that kind
things.
of thing though. Like because I remember in high school, my boyfriend in high school in the HSC had ADHD, and he got to do all his exams in a room where there was like extra time, and it was like sensory nice, and there were people in there to help if you needed it. Like it was like it sounded like a much better setup than what we got in the massive gym, like 300
with the boys
of us.
going, penis!
Yeah, with the boys constantly screaming out penis. So anyway, he tells them, you need to get them like special accommodations to get this extra time and to sit with a special proctor in a room alone. And if they couldn't get the exemption from their own doctor, like Rick had doctors on hand to so they were going to get it. So then this is how they did it. Rick's genius test taker is a qualified exam test proctor. So he's one of the people who sits there and supervises kids while they take this test. So they get the kids to come to Rick's location to do it because, like I said earlier, the SAT, the ACT, it's like you can take it at many different times, different locations, whatever. So they get the kid to go there and sit in the room with this proctor, and because a lot of the parents don't want their parents to know that they are cheating for them, like, i.e., I think you're a dummy, but I don't want you to know I think you're a dummy. In the case of Olivia, Jade, and Bella, I'm not sure if they knew and if they just were like, okay, you're doing the test for me, have fun, and just sat on their phones. But in the case of, like, the kids that didn't know, so Felicity Huffman's daughter, she did the test. So she sat there and did the test, but they had given her a fake answer sheet. And then because there was all this extra time and he was the person supervising, she leaves and is like, yay, I finished the test. That was really hard. The second she leaves, he takes out the real answer sheet, fills it in for the test score that they've agreed on, and then that's the one they submit. And so the results come back a few weeks later. The kid has aced the test, done better than they thought. They think they did it themselves, but really their parents have paid for this guy to do it. So that's how they do it without the kids knowing. And it is just such an effed up way to raise your children. Like, you think you're helping them, but you're doing them a disservice.
100%.
You're doing them a disservice. It's just...
They're going to have no idea of their actual abilities.
I mean, in interviews, and she didn't do many, that Felicity Huffman ended up doing, I do have some empathy in that she would sort of say, like, I was made to feel like this is what you have to do. Like, she and William H. Macy had these two daughters around the same age. It was the first time they'd gone through the college process. They found it so overwhelming. And it was basically indicated to them, like, this is what everybody does to get into these schools. So if you're not playing this game, you're not giving your kid, like a fighting chance. And so, like, she kind of indicated that she really she did take accountability, but she was like, I was under the impression that this was the only way to do something very important for my daughter. And also the dodgy thing is with Felicity Huffman, like, I feel quite badly for her in this, is that, and I think Rick probably did this to a lot more parents than people realize, her daughter was actually acing all her practice tests, and Rick told her that she wasn't. And Rick was like, no, she's not doing well enough to do this herself. Like, we need to do this for her. Like, so he lied about her practice test scores to get Felicity Huffman to freak out and think she had to pay for it. So, like, those are the ways he would fight the system. And that sort of lesser package he offered, where where the application was good except for the test and they'd help with the test, that cost $15,000. So Felicity Huffman had paid $15,000 to get her older daughter's test score changed. And she was in the process of negotiating to do it for her next daughter when the arrests happened. So she didn't end up getting to do it for the second daughter.
Might she have just got in anyway? Or were her test scores good but not good enough still?
No, they were good enough. And he was lying. And I think he probably did that all the time. If he had a parent on the hook, he'd just be like, her application's good but her test score's nowhere near good enough. I think the only way she's going to get, the 1,400 score she needs is if you pay $15,000 for this service we offer. So that was like
finding out that your parents don't believe in you to that degree as well. Like,
and then and then doubly bad that you were good enough anyway.
Thanks guys. Thanks for having faith in me. Ugh.
So those are the main two ways he would fudge the system: the very premium all-in package, and then smaller packages where he would do little bits and pieces of the application like that. Some people did it all. Some kids knew, some kids didn't. There was a lot of different ways this all went down. But over the years that he was running this sort of business, Rick brought in more than $25 million doing this. In the end, he had done it for over 750 families. And they were all pretty elite families. It's like CEOs, bankers, lawyers, celebrities, like rich people.
I like finding something that takes money from people who have money to spend. I like that. But if it just wasn't at the expense of more deserving kids.
Well, do you want to know something frustrating? It's so interesting you bring up, like, taking money from people who have money to spend. The cherry on top of all of this is that Rick had set it all up so that when these people did pay the money, he had set up a non-profit foundation that he said was for education for underprivileged kids. So the foundation is purely a scam for all these rich parents to put the money into. And because they're donating to a foundation, it's tax deductible. So they all just got to claim it on tax anyway. So like it just came off their tax.
Add an extra layer of fuckery.
So at the end of the day, they get this tax break for it, and that means essentially just average poor people who don't have fancy tax loopholes and do pay all their tax probably ended up covering a lot of this for them, to be honest. So how did this whole thing come crashing down? Basically, there was one rich banker who had used Rick's side door for like 3 of his daughters, and he got arrested by the FBI for insider trading. And in order to get a lesser sentence, he freaked out and he was like, I can give you this guy, Rick Singer, who's pulling off this massive college admission scam. And so, a weasel's a weasel, you know what I mean? So straight away. So they're like, tell us more. And he essentially tells them everything he knows. And they're like, whoa, yeah, that is good. So I actually didn't look up what that guy ended up getting for his insider trader scam, but I'm assuming probably like house arrest at his mansion for a month or something, because he gave them this.
That anyway.
So they pivot pretty quickly to Rick to try and take him down. They tap his phone, and in less than an hour, they get him on the phone just like setting up one of these deals with someone. Like, he's pretty brazen about it. He's been doing it for so long, he just doesn't think he's going to get caught. They arrest him after tapping his phone, and he as well flips immediately. He's like, I'll give you whoever you want. And so he agrees to work with them to get as many past current clients as he can to admit to working with him in this operation.
I'm going to rip you guys off, and then I'm going to dog you into
he
the
basically is free for a few years because he's the main witness and he's helping with getting all these people arrested. He just kind of goes on living his life like normal because he's like got this arrangement with them. And so over the next year, they get him on the phone trying to lock down confessions from everyone involved. And they do this by people are so dumb, it's crazy. So he basically calls all major previous clients and he's just like, yo, the foundation that, we do all the money through, it's getting audited by the tax office. I don't want you to freak out. I just wanted to call you to warn you that if you get a call from the IRS saying, oh, what was this donation for $300,000 to the foundation for, dumb underprivileged kids, then you are just like, oh yeah, that was a charitable donation. But then this is how dumb it is. There is on the Gangster Capitalist podcast, and also in a Netflix show documentary about this that's called Operation Varsity Blues. They don't have the audio of the actual calls, but they have the transcripts, and so they have actors reading it.
Yeah.
These people are so dumb. He does it so obviously. So he'll basically go yeah, being audited, so I don't want you to freak out. You just might get a call about it. So yeah, obviously if they ask you what that donation was for, you just say it was for the foundation. Don't tell them that was because you paid me to help fudge your daughter's SAT score, and then that money then went to the coach who pretended she was a rower to get her into USC. And then the parent would be like, oh, totally, yeah, gotcha, on board, I won't say anything. That he says it that obviously, and all the parents are just like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, thanks for letting me know.
Well, but I feel like you'd be like, well, that was weird, but you wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, I wouldn't go straight to.
I guess
but
with
I'm
all
dumb,
these
so.
rich people, tax and tax loopholes and all that kind of thing, it would be a thing they deal with all the time, I guess, with all their financial planners and all that kind of stuff. They probably appreciated the heads up, oh God, how annoying. My foundation's being audited. So don't panic. They're just going to call you to confirm your donation. And you don't have to tell them that it was all a scam. And one guy even goes to him, do you think I'm a fucking idiot? Of course I wouldn't tell them. And Rick's like, okay, just
running through what you paid me for.
So that is essentially how he catches they catch so many people by just getting them on the phone, just admitting to it, and he tricks them all into doing it. And there was even a guy in the Netflix documentary Operation Varsity Blues, a police officer who was involved with the case, and he was like, it is just unbelievable what entitled rich white people will admit to on the phone, because it's just so inconceivable to them that they would ever be in trouble or held accountable for this. Rick was being so obvious, a mafia member would hang up the phone within 10 seconds if he was talking like that. Because it was just so obvious he was wording things in a way to get them to admit their guilt. But like a lot of the parents apparently on these calls were laughing like, lol, yeah, I can't believe we got away with that. Best money I ever spent. My kid loves Harvard. Like they just were saying anything on the phone. They're so stupid. So once Rick tricked like enough people into confessing, a lot of them, the FBI, as part of what they called Operation Varsity Blues, which is why the documentary was called that, they do a simultaneous mass arrest. So like they want to get everyone at the same time so no one can like, you know, destroy documents or whatever. Yeah. So in 2019, across the US, they arrest 53 parents and coaches. It's like an international news explosion, particularly because of the high-profile people involved. And the wider public is furious because, you know, obviously we love to hate on rich, entitled people being rich and entitled. And I think it's also because it's not just that they cheated their way in, but it's also because, like, college admissions, like, they're a zero-sum game. Like, there's limited places. Every place that goes to someone is a place that won't go to someone else.
Yeah.
So it's not just that they didn't earn the place. It's that a kid who did earn a place didn't get it because they took it, because they just paid their way in. And there's a really heartbreaking part in Operation Varsity Blues. Like, they have, you know how kids post videos on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff, like of when they're opening their letter or computer to see if they got in, they're crying, and if they didn't, they're sad, like crying with happiness, and if they didn't, they're sad. And so they show a bunch of those videos of kids getting rejected, and they interview kids who like worked their asses off and like said, you know, when they saw, like, and they didn't get in, and then when they saw this happen, this arrest happen, they were like, well, I was never going to get in. Like, I worked hard because I thought it was a meritocracy, but it's all rigged. And there was an interview with a woman on the Gangster Capitalism podcast, and she talks about this girl from a much lower socioeconomic, like public high school than all of these other kids whose parents paid. She loved rowing. She got up and trained from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day before school, went to school, and then after school did another 3 hours. She did it on weekends, and it was all hoping to get one of the recruited rowing spots at USC. And this teacher said when this girl heard about Bella and Olivia Jade getting in the way they did, she said to her teacher, like, I'm never going to get in, aren't I? And she didn't. She didn't actually get in that year, like, because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's more than just college scam. That's life. Life is a scam like that.
It's effed.
It's not how hard you work very often. It's just who you know or how much money you have.
So, I mean, the one thing that did go differently this time, I think, is people wanted them to be punished. Often in like, I mean, I guess you would call this a white-collar crime. You think of something like, I don't know, Enron, where no one got punished, or like the 2008 housing crisis where only one banker went to prison. Like, for these kinds of high-profile things that involve very rich white people doing scammy things, no one ever really gets punished. And I think this time it was different because the public outcry was just so huge. Yeah. People really wanted these parents to get in trouble. And pretty much all of the parents and coaches who'd been arrested agreed very quickly to plea bargains, because essentially the quicker you agree to cooperate, the better, like, result you're going to get. A lot of them didn't want to fight it by going to trial. Like, I think a lot of them were advised by their attorneys, like, in this case, if there is ever a time in your life to be fucking humble, this is it. Do
There's
it now.
Nothing you could possibly do or say.
No, there is nothing. And Felicity Huffman at her sentencing hearing, like, she really, I think, took that on board. I'll read you her statement. It seems like, you know, I think she probably came out of this looking actually contrite and like she was truly sorry. So I'll read you what she said at her sentencing. She was crying. She said, I accept the court's decision today without reservation. I have always been prepared to accept whatever punishment Judge Talwani imposed. I broke the law. I have admitted that, and I pleaded guilty to this crime. There are no excuses or justifications for my actions, period. I would like to apologize again to my daughter, my husband, my family, and the educational community for my actions. And I especially want to apologize to the students who work very hard every day to get into college and to their parents who make tremendous sacrifices supporting their children. I've learned a lot over the last 6 months about my flaws as a person. My goal now is to serve the sentence that the court has given me. I look forward to doing my community service hours and making a positive impact on my community. I also plan to continue making contributions wherever I can well after those service hours are completed. I can promise you that in the months and years to come that I will try and live a more honest life, serve as a better role model for my daughters and family, and continue to contribute my time and energies wherever I am needed. My hope is now that my family, my friends, and my community will forgive me for my actions. So because of her willingness to take accountability and fully cooperate, and because of the fact they took into account that she was manipulated by Singer in terms of him sort of being dishonest with her about the scores and stuff, she was hoping to not get any prison, but she got 14 days. So she got 14 days at Camp Byron, the cushy one that Elizabeth Holmes and Jen Shah and
I would love to get 14 days.
Everyone is in. Yeah, so she went there.
Just the experience.
But people were honestly surprised she got prison time. They really were.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I think the story was just so public and she was the most public face of it that even though, to be honest, compared to a lot of the other people in the case, what she had done was one of the comparatively smaller indiscretions.
They had to make an example of her.
Yeah, and I think what also didn't help was at the time prosecutors in arguing to make sure she got a prison sentence brought up a story from 2011 about a Black American woman called Kelly Williams Bowler. And in 2011, she had put her father's address on her 2 primary school daughters' applications because she wanted them to go to a better school in a better district, and her father lived in that better district. So if they lived at that address, they would automatically get into that school. And she had actually even been living at her father's part-time because she lived in public housing in quite an unsafe area, and her home had been broken into a bunch and she just felt unsafe, so she was staying with her dad a lot. So she puts his address on the application, her girls go to the school. But they find out that she's not actually living at that's not her actual official address. Her daughters are removed from the school. She's arrested and she's sentenced to 5 years in prison because school officials said she was cheating the system because her daughters received a higher quality education from that district without paying the taxes to fund it. Right. Those dollars need to stay home with our district, with our students, is what was said at the time. There was public outrage at the time. The 5-year sentence ended up getting retracted and a judge gave her 10 days. So she got 10 days in prison, but she also got 3 years probation and 80 hours of community service. It was literally for just changing an address on an application.
I know 20 people who have done that.
Everyone does that.
In Sydney. Everyone,
And so that story was brought up in the sentencing of a lot of these people just to be like, we can't charge that woman with that and let these people off. That is just outrageous. So I think that went a long way as well towards the judge feeling like he was under pressure to give actual prison time.
Well, there's so much emotion and stories in all of this as well. It only takes one, tearjerk story from someone who didn't get in to give you a massive justice boner and you just want to see them suffer.
Yeah. So virtually every parent involved got some kind of prison time. What they're all being charged with really, I mean, this is just the gist, the details aren't super important, but it's basically fraud, mail fraud for lying on forms, money laundering for the stuff going to the foundation, just all kinds of just basically all fraud stuff. The lowest sentence was Felicity Huffman. There were higher sentences, there were some of the sort of investment bankery type dudes. I think one of them got about 1.5 years, some really egregious ones. But, the ones who took accountability and didn't fight it were the ones who got the lower sentences. The ones who chose to fight it and refused to be humble and accountable, they got more. And so that included Lori Loughlin and Massimo Giannulli, who would not admit to wrongdoing, kept fighting it. And what's even awful about this is that they kind of threw their kids under the bus while they were doing it, because they refused to negotiate any kind of plea deal. They were like, not guilty or nothing, like, we'll go to trial. And so in preparation for a trial, they had to release all the evidence, which was the photos of the girls on the rowing machines, like all the correspondence about like their girls' bad test scores. Like, so nobody knew any of that until their parents allowed it to be released, because they refused to take accountability. Why would you do that to them?
On what grounds did they think they could fight that? Like,
rich, entitled douche grounds.
Excuse? Like,
rich, entitled douche grounds. That's what's grounds. And so they eventually, at the 11th hour, realised there was no way they were going to win. And so they backed off and were like, okay, we'll do a plea bargain. But by that point, like, it was too late, like, because when it comes to plea bargaining, it's sort of the earlier you do it, and everyone else had done it early. They'd wasted court resources. The judge just was not about, like, doing them any favours. And so Lori Loughlin ends up getting 2 months in prison. Her husband gets 5 months in prison. They're allowed to serve it separately, so, like, as at separate times. So there's one parent out with the kids. Interestingly, they separated in 2025, just last year. And Lori Loughlin has since come out and indicated that her partner Massimo was abusive and the whole college thing was his doing, and she had no control over it. She had no idea. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Olivia Jade and Bella both said that they left USC of their own accord, but apparently they were like it was like leave or get kicked out. So, it hasn't really affected them though. Like, they both just kept quiet for a while, and then kind of just, they're still pretty successful influencers. Like Olivia Jade was in the news quite a bit recently because she was dating Jacob Elordi, the hot Aussie guy. Like, they kind of just, they came out okay. Lori Loughlin was sort of, she got dropped from Fuller House, the Full House sequel show. She sort of didn't do a lot on Hallmark for a while, which had been her big, like, moneymaker, but she's back, like, working again now. And Felicity Huffman as well went to ground for a while, but obviously her husband's William H. Macy, so he's, you know, he's doing good, and she started working again. So for her as well, it's been kind of fine. Now, Rick Singer, because he cooperated, he's given a lot of leniency. It took a while to even get him to prison because he needed to be out to be helped, like, cooperating with the FBI. So in 2023, he's finally sentenced. He gets 3.5 years in prison, and he's ordered to pay a $10 million fine. He serves less than 18 months and he gets out in 2024. And this is crazy. So in an interview with ABC News, he said last year that while he was at a federal prison camp, so of course he went to a cushy prison camp, the coolest thing happened ever, he said. I had a young man send me an email saying, could you help me with my applications and tell me if I could get into these schools, Singer said. He did a sit-down interview with ABC News. The applicant sent Singer his high school transcript and a list of his credentials. Singer, whose advice was once sought by high-powered executives and Hollywood actors, wrote back offering a few pointers. The student was accepted to his top school choice in March, Singer said. This summer, so he got out of prison, Singer launched a new venture called ID Future Stars, a consulting business that boasts an 80 to 96% acceptance rate into first-choice colleges. According to the website, our success speaks for itself. Now, I went to the website because I was like, I need to see this.
Is he allowed?
It's a very flash website, but the second you get there, a page comes up. Like, you know how you have to, like, accept cookies before you can – it's kind of like that. A thing comes up and you have to accept it before you go into the site. And it is basically like a disclaimer telling you, this guy's dodgy. Do you still want to enter this? So I'll read it to you. It says, you get to it, you go to idfuturestars.com And this thing comes up immediately. It says, in March 2019, Rick Singer pled guilty to federal charges, including racketeering, conspiracy, money laundering, blah, 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 for his role in what was widely publicized as the Varsity Blues College admissions scheme. Specifically, Mr. Singer admitted to, among other things, bribing standardized test proctors and administrators to engage in cheating on college entrance exams, falsifying students' transcripts, paying third parties to take classes in their names, falsifying students' applications, blah, 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 blah. As part of the scheme, Mr. Singer took in more than $25 million from his clients, blah, 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 blah. On January 4, 2023, a federal court in Boston sentenced Mr. Singer to 42 months in prison. And so then it just kind of lists that, and it's like, do you still want to enter the site? And I was like, yup. And so that's it. And then you enter the site, and it's a very flashy website, and they don't really mention anything else at all about it. And he says, what he originally started off doing, which is just a legitimate consulting firm to help kids on their college applications, and that he promises he's not doing anything dodgy this time.
How is that not a condition of his sentencing, that he cannot work in that field or any adjacent field ever again?
All I know is he went to prison for less than 18 months, and when he was in prison, he was already consulting with people on how to make their college applications better, and the second he got out of prison, he launched a new college application consulting.
He's going back. He's going back.
That's
like
back.
telling like an alcoholic, okay, but you can only drink wine.
I know. Like he's the audacity, but also the audacity of men, but also the fact that I'm not even surprised. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But
the
also
world's just letting him do that.
The greed. Like, if he could do it legitimately and make money doing it legitimately,
he would have.
He should have just always done that. But clearly...
He's saying that's what he's doing now.
Rick.
ID
Mate.
future stars. So that was just the gist of the 2019 college admission scandal. Nepo
So
Baby
good.
Central.
So good.
Starting off 2026 with a Nepo-themed week.
Yes, I love it.
I know.
I want to go watch that document. I think I watched it like back in the day.
Yeah, it's
but
made me
want to rewatch
yeah.
now.
And it's got Matthew Modine, the actor who looks so much like the real life Rick Singer, plays Rick Singer in like all the
really?
reenactments, and he's really good.
Oh, okay.
He's really good. Like, he's really good in it. And then, like I said, what's it called? The podcast I was saying, Gangster Capitalism or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna add that right now.
It's that's a really excellent podcast too. They do a 6-part series on it, and it just
So good.
The world is not a meritocracy, my friends.
No, it is not.
Unfortunately.
I feel like I remember Olivia Jade going on what's that show? You know, that like Jada Pinkett Smith and Willow and her mother.
Oh, Red Table.
Yeah. I feel like I remember her going on that and actually being quite
contrite,
humble. Yeah. And like I remember
that too.
Wanting to hate watch it and wanting to hate her and being like, oh, she actually she actually, stood up.
Yeah, I do have some sympathy for her. She's 17 years old and she'd been raised that way and her parents told her to do it. Like, I mean, you can't help if your parents raise you to be a dick. What you can do is once you realize that you are, change.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of the impression that I got from her on that. I mean, this is like a very, very vague memory that just came back to me.
No, you are now triggering that memory in my mind too. That show was unhinged.
I'm going to go watch that interview as well. Because I feel like I remember them being quite hard on her and her like really standing her ground but not being defensive at all, just being like, I did a really shit thing and I was a shit person and I'm going to change that. And
wow, hey, yeah, I totally forgot about that. Okay, I'll find it and I'll put the link in the show notes for this episode. So thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
As
reminding me of this excellent thing.
Yes, minis, thanks for listening. JTG minis drop on Wednesday, regular episodes drop on Thursday, and breaking news and other bonus content drops for Gisner Club members on the Patreon and Apple subscriptions every week. And I think there will be quite a bit of bonus about the Beckham situation because that's just stuff is happening that I want to talk about.
Also, I feel like we've got podcast blue balls. Like we haven't recorded for a while.
I know.
Like, I want to record all of the things.
I want to do stories. We're back for 2026, baby. So, listen to this week's mini and breaking news if you haven't already. And, see ya for, just the rest of this year.
See ya for the rest of this year.
Like, I don't have plans. We took our break. Like, James and I went to Tasmania for 3 weeks. That was our break. So
that's it.
You're just getting content on content for the rest of 2026. I got nothing else to do. Okay, cool. Bye.
Right.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Just the Gist, a Just the Network production. Executive produced and hosted by me, Rosie Waterland. Produced and edited by James Joseph with additional production support from JTG team Kate Lieber and Hayley Stavely and Acast legends Guy Scott Wilson and Simon McDermott. Looking for breaking news? It drops on the Just the Gist Patreon every Tuesday, along with a whole lot of other bonus audio, video, and behind-the-scenes content, which you can access for just $1 a week by clicking the link in the show notes or searching Just the Gist Podcast on Patreon. Follow Just the Gist on Instagram and TikTok at Just the Gist Podcast and watch the video version of every episode on our YouTube channel, also at, funnily enough, Just the Gist Podcast. Follow Rosie, that's me, in all of the places at Rosie Waterland. Want to give us a suggestion? Tell Rosie to stop singing so much? Email us at hello@justthegist.com.au. Thank you, as always, for listening. Now go say something impressive at a dinner party. Bye.